What a Wild Spirit Brings by Lil, Chapter 30. When she was nearing Andari, she saw two women standing outside the majestic city. Lil dove down to them and almost crashed into them in her excitement to throw her arms around both. She didn't care that they were slowly coming closer to where she was headed. She wouldn't care if they followed her to Yedem at that moment. Trixian and Blaxian were who she trusted most in the world, except maybe Tindra, and she was overjoyed to see them. Light, little brave one, but it is good to see you. You must stop disappearing like that. I know. I almost died, fell in a freezing river. I'm here now, though. Freezing river? Both women looked at her as if she were saying light could be dark. They were desert women. To them, a frozen river probably seemed impossible. Lil laughed at that. Well, during the war, surely you saw snow, yes? Wild ones do not go to war. Warriors spoke of it. Water turned white. They said the water falls from the sky as well. Trixian said, awe in her eyes. You don't have rain? No. Light. Well, when it is cold, colder than you can probably imagine, water turns to ice, to snow, it freezes, and if it is cold enough, even lakes and rivers can freeze. Such a strange thought. Water freezing, Trixian said in wonder. The land of dunes suits me fine, Blaxian said with a firm look at her younger sister. Trixian's face became smooth, and she said, I am glad you survived your ordeal, little brave one. Thank you, I am too. Means I get to be here with you. Both women smiled at that. I like your garb, little brave one, Blaxian said. Lil smiled at her and said, I am my mother's daughter. Indeed you are, Blaxian said with a grin. Why are you going west instead of east to us, little brave one? Trixian blurted suddenly. Her business is her own, sweet sister, Blaxian said. Trixian blushed, but she still looked like she wanted an answer. Lil was suddenly scared of her, and she didn't know why. She was pretty and a good woman, and even saved her life. I go west for honor's sake. Both women were surprised she answered, or else at her answer, or maybe for both reasons. Blaxian looked like she understood, but Trixian looked saddened. Then her face became smooth again, smooth like a Haldani's, smooth like Demine's. Lil felt like she was going to vomit for a moment. Trixian? Do you prefer women to men? Blaxian looked about to get onto her for prying, but Trixian nodded, worry marring her composure. Lil wanted to run. She wanted to scream. Panic was gripping her, and she couldn't even explain why. She realized that Trixian had just looked at her breasts in much the same way she had looked at Trixian's a dozen times. But it wasn't because of loving Mitten that she wanted to run. She didn't know why it terrified her that Trixian returned her attraction. You are obviously not recovered yet, Blaxian said, ripping her from being lost in fear. Both women were looking at her with genuine concern, and Trixian was drumming her fingers on her right hand against her leg. Light. Mitten would never have wanted her. Mitten would never have looked back. Lil knew she should be thrilled to meet a woman like Trixian. She knew Trixian was a good woman. She knew Trixian wasn't mean. And then she knew. She was terrified of actually being with a woman. She doubted if she was truly ever in love with Mitten. Her brother's sick spirit had blown the whole thing out of proportion, and besides, the Haldani was off limits, even if not already with Jerk. It had been safe to adore her. Trixian was not safe. Trixian would want the bed. Lil did vomit. Both wild ones started making hand movements and grabbed her head. Lil would have fallen in a heap to the ground if not for them. Her body could not stop convulsing, over and over trying to vomit Demine's taste away, trying to be louder than Demine's moaning, trying to make her throat raw and hurt worse than those claws. She had no idea for how long she puked for, but she finally began to become aware of the other two women both making hand symbols over her head, with her laid back on her back on the ground. Both Entha were focused. Both were trying to heal her, she realized. I'm feeling better. Thank you. Both hands slowed in changing from one finger pattern to the next. Blaxian leaned her face close to Lil's and studied her eyes. Lil rolled to her side, facing away from Trixian. You must stay away from this water that freezes, little brave one, if this is the effect of it. Blaxian shook her head and stopped with her hands. She touched Lil's cheek. She looked relieved. I will certainly try. The wild one nodded and then said, Lil, you must never speak of my sister's. You must never even hint at her, desires. Blaxian looked like she had just swallowed fish oil. What do you mean? Blaxian looked a little nauseous herself now. Trixian sighed behind her. She spoke, sounding angry and broken at the same time. The Entha do not accept such behavior. I will never be forced to marry a man, but, well, I can never marry a woman, or even attempt to, or I will be stoned, as will she be. Lil turned and looked at her in disbelief. I am filled with shame that you noticed and promised to control my eyes in the future. But I don't understand. What do you not understand? Blaxian asked. Lil sat up and said, that you could possibly kill someone for loving a woman when they are a woman. It is not encouraged among the Greenlanders, but it is accepted if it happens. Light, you stone them? You are serious? Light, Trixian said, her turn to be in disbelief. Greenlanders are dishonorable. No wonder they would accept a dishonorable thing, Blaxian said, as if that was all the explanation that could possibly be needed. Lil couldn't believe it. The Entha hated women's women enough to stone them. In a way it was good because she never had to fear having to be with a woman, but in other ways, what if Blaxian ever caught her looking at her sister? Would she love them enough not to assume the worst? Blaxian, Lil said, swallowing and licking her lips, eyes boring into the ground with her gaze. What about if... If? What if I don't want to be with a woman or a man? Then you don't have to be. And that is fine? Yes. Some women choose to refrain from men. Some men, though more rarely, choose to refrain from women. It is not required to be with someone. Oh, thank the light! You seem afraid. A man hurt you? Trixian asked, looking about to cry. Lil didn't know what to say. She didn't know how to say that she had no real reason to be without desire for men. She just didn't find them attractive. Would they believe her? She didn't want to lose her Entha family. I've been raped before. Both women wrapped their arms around her. She let them because it hid her shame-filled face at lying to them. She realized Trixian was pressed close and smelled like flower petals. She hoped they didn't let go before she stopped blushing. She knew Trixian would keep her word about not pursuing her anymore, but it was all right to look. It was different to smell her. It was just overwhelming to think of a bed. Rape never happens among our people. Long ago, a man raped a woman, and his punishment was so severe that no man ever did again. Only the Tri have record of the whole of it. Part of it, though, was that which gave him the right to be called a man was removed, in ways unknown, and he was forced to wear a dress and do menial slave work beneath the woman he raped. There was more done. Even those two things are enough, though, to remind men never to force themselves on a woman. Women decide who enters their bed and who doesn't. A man may not even ask until after his 30th year. Till then, only upon invite may he be with a woman. Really? Light. Yes. Greenlander men take whatever woman that is weak enough to take, and they often gang up together to overwhelm even a strong woman. Only in marriage is a woman safe from other men, but marriage is arranged by her father and the man that wants her. She has no say. I almost was forced to marry in that fashion. Light. When a man and a woman marry, it's because a woman asks him to. He must prove his love for her by doing a rite of trial she creates, and even the wedding is planned by her. Amazing! You actually have a reason for not wanting a man, Trixian said in almost a whisper, staring off at nothing, looking pained and drumming her fingers again. Blaxian made a sound in her throat, and Trixian's head snapped up. She again was completely calm. Lil wanted to comfort her in that moment. She wanted to tell her she wasn't alone and that she wasn't anything to be ashamed of, except she couldn't, and felt ashamed of her own self. I should go back to my dreams. Yes, of course. Do you need any help getting back? Blaxian said. No, I will be fine, thank you. One day you will have to teach me about those hand motions. Oh, it is how we make healing of spirits here. They are also used in dream walking. You will learn. I will look forward to it. May you both ever have allies in water. And may you ever have allies in water, little brave one, Blaxian said. Have allies in water, Trixian said, without emotion.